So it would seem we've come to this again. Ladies and gentlemen, Darrell here in the Sorry Eternal headquarters. It is Super Bowl fucking Sunday, so I fully anticipate that no one, at least no one in the continental United States, will be listening to this podcast on the Sunday at 8 o'clock time slot. Who knows? Maybe no one will listen to it at all. The hangover from the game, I'm sure Justin is going to be either partying like it's 1999 or crying like a little girl, being a Baltimore Ravens fan. It's going to be one of the two. But in the meantime, I'm going to throw some things out there, and whenever you get around to listening to this, if you do, you can enjoy or not enjoy them. So let's touch on a couple things here quickly. Reviews for last week. Again, a very interesting week for music. We began with the new album from Dilmun Gates, News of the New World, which came out last year. Very interesting album. They really seem to focus on melodic death metal, but in a very simplistic way. Now, I don't want that to seem like I'm being condescending. I don't want it to seem like that's an insult in any way, because it's really not. What they do is they take the melodic death genre, they play it well, and they do everything in the best way possible. They didn't need any crazy guitar solos. There's no ridiculous twists and turns. There's no like, oh, surprise, we added in 30 other instruments. This is melodic death. And I think that should be commended, first of all. And second of all, there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. So the new album, News of the New World, I can say the word new a lot in this sentence, like I said, came out last year, but just really something to check out. Check them out on Facebook or on. They actually still have a MySpace page, unbeknownst to the rest of the world. But if you get a chance to listen to them, I mean, it's just proof that the Spanish metal scene is just growing by the day. Next up for the week, we had the new EP, which I've been looking forward to, kind of. It's the split EP between Phil Anselmo, who now goes by the full Philip H. Anselmo, and the band War Beast. The name of the EP is War of the Gargantuas. And really, the EP is what it is. There's really not much you can say about it. This was more of a display, I think, for Anselmo, because he has his new album coming out, his first solo album of his career, which is kind of a big deal because a lot of people are wondering, what the fuck he's going to do. He has a million bands, but he's never really stepped out from that Pantera shadow, at least, as far as I can say. I mean, sure, Down is great, Superjoint Ritual's good, but, I think this is, a solo album is his way of, doing his own thing. So it's 2 tracks from each band on here. And like I said, it's good. It's good. There's really nothing that stands out as like, oh my god, this is amazing. But you can definitely tell, Anselmo's tracks. He has the song Conflict as well as Family, Friends, and Associates. But it just kind of wets your whistle in anticipation of his solo album. But the real star of the week, by my estimation, was the new album by the band Cult of Luna. The name of the album is Vertical. And I think that there's a lot of things to say about it. Now, I'm not going to get too in-depth. I mean, you can read the review and you can see what I had to say about it. But it's this weird combination of story, delivery, and writing that I don't know that I've ever really heard in a band like this before. They have this whole futuristic story where, there's the class struggle and everything. And they do it in this really, pounding, absolutely devastating metal style. And they don't really lose sight of the story. You can really feel, the futuristic nature, and you can just you can feel it. And I think what makes it even more than that is the production work is so crystal clear, so amazing, so just beautifully done. And it's just really the perfect album of this nature. And I think, this is another one. If you get the chance to hear it, you absolutely have to, because you will not be disappointed at all. And this band just gets better and better. I've been a fan of this band for a couple of years, and I would say that without a doubt, this is my favorite album that they've done so far. And that says a lot, because they've had quite a few. So definitely check out that Vertical by Cult of Luna. So make sure you get on that. Last week I touched very briefly on the idea of raw versus refined, in music, and how how the two kind of go hand in hand, but how new bands have that raw sound that almost gives their music a little extra character. And as I was hoping, we did get a response from Dan Klein of Appalachian Winter, kind of about that process. And he actually made a couple really good points. You should definitely head over to our Facebook page and check out what he said, about why those contrasts are made. But definitely check that out. And then I think if you listen to his albums again, I think you almost get a greater appreciation, based on just the amount of work that goes into making an album. I mean, a metal album in general, the amount of recording and re-recording and overdubbing and mixing, just everything is just so labor intensive. There's just no way to walk in, press record, and go. I mean, it's not like when I do this podcast, literally, I press record and go. There's not a huge setup yet until things start to get bigger. So, I don't know if we all fully appreciate the amount of work that goes into stuff like that. So, go ahead and read what he had to say and gather a little bit of that appreciation. So I think that's just going to do it for this week. Like I said, the Super Bowl, it's kind of a big deal around here. All of us in the headquarters, everybody's really into the sport of American football. Yes, and despite the fact that we are, in our area at least, being a fan of the New York Jets, I am never represented in the big game. I can still appreciate and enjoy it. So make sure you check out the reviews from last week. Got a couple great ones coming up this week, which I do want to mention in advance. Hemisphere, which is a kind of progressive power metal band from Ecuador, which I don't know that I've ever really dealt with a band from Ecuador before. Digression Assassins, which, don't let the name fool you, it's actually a really good album from a band from Stockholm. It's very interesting, progressive combination death metal. I don't know. I don't know what to call it. It's just really, really weird. But like I said, don't let the name fool you. Digression Assassins. And then my biggest surprise of the coming week, and this is going to be one I think you're going to be hearing me talk about for quite some time, is a band called El Faria. And they are from the French-speaking part of Switzerland. And the album came out last year, and had I heard this album last year, I can tell you with the utmost certainty it would have been in my top 10 of the year. So keep an eye out for the reviews from those. Once again, we do have some new writers coming into the fold. You guys saw the first review from Stuart Hall of the Holy Grail album Ride the Void. And I'd like to say he and I don't necessarily agree on everything, but I definitely I supported his review, and I actually agreed with it, which is always good. And then we should have another new face showing up either later this week or early next week with some reviews. And he and I do not share the same taste at all, minus a couple female-fronted bands. So that should definitely yield some interesting results. So anyway. Enjoy the big game if you're watching. If not, then enjoy whatever the fuck it is you do. And we will be back next week with the monumental episode 70. Can you believe it? 70. Yeah.